Hello and welcome to a new entry of the High Tech Low Code podcast. The topic of today focuses on the financial sector, more specifically with a guest from a company that specializes in credit and political risk insurance. We will go through the challenges and opportunities that technology provides and how it is shaping their processes. To help us understand a bit more of this subject, we have as our guest Amanda Ushedo, Business Analyst at BPL Global. Amanda, thank you very much for joining us in our podcast. How are you doing?
You're welcome, firstly. I'm great, thank you. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me here to speak on your podcast. Really keen to see how we get on today. I'm sure you've got lots of interesting questions for me. How are you, Mario?
I'm good, thank you very much. And don't worry, I'm sure we'll do great. But before we jump into any subject, could you do a small introduction about yourself so that our listeners could get to know you a bit better?
Right, of course. So once again, my name is Amanda Ushedo. I'm a business analyst at BPL Global, a credit and political risk insurance broker. I've been working in tech for about 10 years now. I started off as a software analyst and moved into business analysis about 5 or 6 years ago. This is my first role in insurance. My previous roles have been within the online payments industry and institutional investment, And this is also my first time working with low code, and it's been really interesting so far.
Oh, that is great. Thank you for that. And now focusing on the subject, I would like to start by asking, how is technology influencing the insurance broker industry in their operating processes?
So I've been a BA in insurance for roughly 4 years now, and from what I've seen, in the industry as a whole, technology seems to be having a greater influence and impact on daily operations with every year that passes. The credit and political risk industry has been established and continues to be heavily operated by face-to-face interactions, and it's assured by personal and business relationships. And what I mean is that there's lots of official meetings going on or unofficial meetups to chat over a drink, and there's trips, events, introductions, etc. It's a very personable industry. And let's not forget the mountains of paperwork that is still a thing up until today, whether it's for contracts, invoices, letters, KYC documentation, etc. I say all this because I've noticed that when I attend events, for example, if they're introducing a new software within insurance, there's a lot of the brokers that are extremely concerned about the human interaction aspect being steadily weaned out. A lot of them want to continue working and meeting people and speaking to them. But despite this, technology is heavily welcomed and appreciated. Activities that would normally take days and possibly weeks are now being shortened to a matter of hours with the right tools and applications. Communicating with clients, underwriters, insurers, etc. is now much easier. Sharing of important documentation is safer. Recording responses and sharing feedback with your team, updating files, etc. is a lot quicker, and even the maintenance of sensitive client data is secured. So this is how I've seen technology really have an impact on this industry. And additional to this, we're now seeing the emergence of digital placing platforms like BPL and Whitespace, which are designed to enable brokers and insurers to quote, negotiate, bind and endorse business digitally.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's quite interesting. But one thing that is very interesting is that the traditional way of doing business is still very important.
Definitely.
How does process automation play a role in this type of business?
Process automation. So the main thing that comes to my mind when I think of process automation in this industry is around reporting. Data and statistics play an absolutely major role when it comes to insurance, and there's lots of data. Basically, we handle so much data. Brokers handle so much of this on a day-to-day basis, and the interest from our clients and insurers for this data is equally as much. So, as I said, data plays a key role in the negotiating of contracts and decision making. It's really important that it's readily available and also that it's accurate. So process automation in this business is important for receiving the details of a potential deal from a client, recording this in a format that is clear and structured, which will then get received by underwriters electronically to review and respond. Depending on what type of insurance it is, the responses can be recorded and then shared with the clients digitally. And this is exactly what I meant when I mentioned the placing platforms earlier, BPL Whitespace. They've designed their software to actually cater to this type of automation. It not only helps with capturing and sharing of the data, but it assists greatly in the generation of the reports and useful statistics. And I believe because of this, AI is introduced as well. It creates the ability for brokers to notice and share emerging patterns with the clients. It's also helpful in the sense that alerts and notifications seem to be like a complementary feature that comes along with automation. And it's welcomed because this is a business where there's a lot of time constraints. Time is money, basically, and things move very, very fastly. So to stay on track, to stay on board and, keep moving, basically, because you've been notified and alerted to certain things is really, really helpful, I think, for brokers. There's definitely a lot of areas here and there that can do with more automation, but it's steadily being applied, I believe.
You mentioned that technology is very welcome to this sector. Taking that into account and what has been happening in the past couple of years now due to, pandemic and whatnot, how is this sector adapting to the digital revolution?
Pretty well, it seems. The industry is growing. There are more and more clients. The deals are getting bigger, and so are the budgets. So I believe firms all over the world have had to digitalize many of their operations in order to keep up with the demands of their clients. And this is even before COVID and the fact that we now have to no longer be in the office and see face-to-face and work from home, but just to keep up, just to keep track because of the immense amount of work, it has to be digitalized. And I believe that they're adapting to it pretty well. As the clientele grows as well, so does the list of new insurance brokers. So like our competition, as there's more clients, there's more brokers trying to get in on those deals, basically. And I think to stay competitive in today's market, you have no choice but to adopt, the digital revolution in order to give your clients what they need as soon as they ask for it. Otherwise, there's going to be someone else that should be able to do that for them. I do believe this industry is one of the slowest to adapt, though. But I believe individuals and companies are now seeing the importance of a digital transformation, and they're already reaping the benefits, to be honest. They're embracing it more and more. And from what I see, it seems like they're even keen on seeing what else can be digitalized to ease their duties at work.
Oh, wow. You certainly shined some light into a thought that I had, which was in some sectors, actually digital revolution is no longer a competition, but a race for survival.
Exactly.
And it seems to me that in the financial sector of insurance brokers, because it's still so connected to traditional ways of doing business, it's still in the realm of it's a competition. The more digitalized I am, the better I can provide a service.
Definitely.
Wow. Okay. That was interesting. Thank you for that bit of knowledge. Moving on, what future trends could be expected in this sector? Could something like cryptocurrency be in the horizon?
I really wish I could pretend I'm versed on cryptocurrency. I really wish I could, but I would sound terrible right now, so I won't. I'm not so clued up in that area, but I definitely believe the security that comes with blockchain can make this industry more secure and help with tracing vital information. For example, when there's a change on a policy, or if there's a claims and if there are any updates for that claims, I think the security would be really, really important there. But I think data-driven insurance will be a trend. And I feel very weird saying that because insurance has always been data-driven. But I believe going forward, insurers can now use a lot more metrics, basically, to minimize risks and provide more customized and accurately priced policies for clients. Before automation, the data was just too much to analyze the standard way, but now high volumes of data can be analyzed to help with tracking and predicting patterns and trends. So definitely, I feel like there's going to be a change, an improvement, should I say, with the data that we have and the tools that we have to analyze it, and how, policies can now be based and influenced on that data.
Okay, we'll jump into that in a bit, because I have a good question for you on the future trends. Okay, you mentioned that you've been working with low-code. Does low-code already play a major role in helping out with this revolution for yourself?
Definitely. As I said, it's my first time working with low-code, but I've seen a massive difference already. The quick turnaround of new apps, the addition of new fields to capture specific information, or even implementing a new workflow, it really, really helps immensely when you need to extract, useful and vital data in order to do an analysis and present the results to your clients. It's also fantastic for creating customized forms for the brokers or different teams in the business to capture bespoke data for the clients who request it. The fact that we deal with so many sectors and company types, a one-size-fits-all service doesn't work at all. So low-code development is perfect for personalization as well as speed.
Yeah, the great hallmark of agile development, right?
Yes, of course.
Now, going back to when you were talking about the trends. So with advances in AI and data services, these are definitely playing a role in transforming the sector, or are these still possibilities that are far off in the future?
No, I think it's happening now. I honestly believe it's already transforming the sector. It's allowing brokers, underwriters, and insurers to have more time to handle other pressing matters, because things are being automated, as I mentioned earlier. It's easier to notice the trends and be more precisely predictive on future policies. At the moment, it helps greatly with risk assessments and weighing up how likely a claim on a policy would be, because of this, AI basically just being able to it's kind of like machine learning, just picking up the trends and the patterns and being able to predict. I think it's amazing, and it's happening now. I don't even think it's far from what's happening now.
Have you picked up any weird pattern in your professional life, like due to AI, going, oh wow, I never noticed that people do this actually, or something like that?
Not so much, but I do notice that the patterns that are picked up help brokers and their marketing, basically. So even down to personalized marketing, making sure the right deals are being seen by the right underwriters. I've noticed that happen. That's because they're seeing the patterns in regards to who responds to what, why they respond to it, maybe the locations that these deals and contracts are happening in. So it helps with the building of relationships between brokers and the insurers, because then you're not filling their inbox with information and requests to quote on something that they have no interest in. So I think that's been a great influence, and it's been really helpful. Everyone's happy at the end of the day, and it just helps with the percentage of positive responses that you get from the underwriters, because you're sending the right ones, the right deals, basically.
I see.
And I think that's one of the biggest things I've noticed. But I definitely feel like it could do so much more, even detecting fraudulent cases maybe by picking up on subtle behavior patterns. And that's because an algorithm has been fed with a constant flow of data. You could just do some really interesting things with AI and data science.
Oh, I see. Like in the banks, when they noticed, for example, there was a very off-record trend in your bank account, maybe your card has been copied or hijacked.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I never thought about that.
That's the thing. It picks up on things you don't think about sometimes. It just, it's such a fast-paced industry. There's so much going on, so many deals, so many things you have to think about. And that's why I said earlier that automation and AI, and it just helps brokers and possibly insurers as well, just, focus on the other areas that kind of get overlooked because, the workload is so much. Having these things that pick up on patterns or just automate your processes at work, it's just so helpful. It's really, really helpful. And then you can kind of like get some business development out of that as well, because you have more time to focus on other areas that have been neglected for so long, and possibly even implement some machine learning and AI into those new areas as well. So I think it's fantastic, to be honest. And it's definitely happening now. It's not something that, you know, you have to look forward to. I definitely see a presence of this currently.
Well, the like you said, the obvious win is by shortening a bit of time, or even by lowering the workload on logistics. You're saving money that way, for so to speak. Yeah, but if it's happening now, I can only imagine the trends that they are tracing about everyone.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next, basically. I don't think it's everyone or every firm or every broker that's implementing it yet. As I said, I definitely think insurance has been one of the slowest to pick up on these areas. But some of the maybe smaller firms who have things such as low-code development or just really high-tech IT teams, they're definitely taking certain aspects on board and implementing it and helping, you know, their firm in the market. And I definitely think other people will start catching on, other firms will start catching on, especially with the platforms that you kind of have to use now. There's some, you know, things that have been implemented there. Lloyd's say you have to place a certain percentage of your inquiries or policies on a digital platform. So I think kind of making it a mandatory thing will start bringing technology to the forefront of some of these firms that aren't really thinking about it at the moment, because they have to get onto it, they have to start using it, and you know, it'll start triggering some other thought processes on how else they can automate things or just use technology to ease their workload.
That's interesting. I wasn't aware. Well, but makes sense. You mentioned Lloyd's as an example, but it makes sense if all the other big players start a full-on digital revolution and start saying, okay, if you want to do business with me, you need to be able to be on par with what I'm doing. So go on, get on with the game. Yeah,
definitely.
Wow.
Interesting stuff happening.
Yes. I can only imagine the consultancy business going on. Okay, fine. Let's go on. Let's do this.
Exactly.
This can't be always nice. Surely there has been something where you went like, oh, damn tech. It's not helping me now. Do you have any example of that?
Where it's not helping? No, where it's not helping, no. The only way I think it works against us is when you've done something so well and so quickly, which, you know, low code allows you to do, that it just kind of triggers off this madness within the firm, and everyone's like, oh wow, can I have this? Can you do this? And what about this? And can you change this? And you know, even, and you know, like I mentioned earlier, it's very easy to customize forms and things like that, or pages or apps for certain teams or certain individuals in the company. So you do get like a massive list of requests, which is great. I think for any company, that's absolutely amazing, and I'm not complaining at all. It's just like, oh wow, okay. As opposed to traditional development where it's just I don't know, people kind of understand that it's very slow, understand it takes long, don't even come to you with any requests, to be honest, because they're just happy to deal with whatever you've given them. But this is really, I think low code turns non-tech people into tech people, if that makes sense. They now start thinking about things and designing things and asking, can it do this? And almost becoming developers themselves, which is really funny, but it helps in a really great way, because it then creates this middle ground where it's, you know, it's not just the business and technology anymore. There's like a little merge happening, because you've got the minds of the business people who are also giving you ideas of how to build something and how this could work for me or the company. And, you know, this will be great for data capture on this side. And should it look like this? And can we make it do that? It's a wonderful place to be honest.
Yeah. The concept of the citizen developer, right?
Yes, exactly. That's so evident right now.
That is a tricky subject, depending on who you speak with, to be honest.
Why do you say that?
Well, from my experience, whenever I speak to, for example, an IT manager or a unit manager, which the focus is specifically development or software factory or something like that, and someone tells them, oh, you have a couple of guys, they are citizen developers that are going to help you out with the workload. He kind of starts crossing. He's like, oh, no. They're not going to touch my database. They don't know what they're doing. Do you have that point of view also happening? Well, at least with some people who I've spoken with. But then there's the other side, which is, yes, but now I know the business and I can deliver a small app or a small set of forms that will help my team or something like that. And
exactly.
in that, it's a complete revolution. That, yes, I can imagine that, I don't know, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, that was definitely not the case.
Yeah.
You need something, you need to wait at least a month to get something on your hands.
Exactly. And I think another thing that is an improvement because of this is the ownership of certain things as well. I think once you have an IT team and they're building things for you, the IT team forever and ever and ever owns that app or that feature. And so anything that happens to it, or any questions people have, they come straight to the IT team. We built it. Sometimes we don't even understand how you use it, really. It's just like, okay, this is for you. This is what you asked for. It works perfectly. So when you do get some of those requests come in, it's like, I don't know, maybe speak to your manager or speak to someone else in a different department. And I think having this middle ground gives the business individuals that opportunity to actually own what they've requested to be built. So if people have questions about it, or if they have ideas on how to improve something, it doesn't come straight to IT, because at the end of the day, we can't decide if that should actually happen or not. We still have to go back to the business and say, this has been requested. What do you think? Should we go ahead? But now it's allowing people to, as I said, own the features, all the apps, and attract the attention and the questions and the criticism first, which then they can kind of sift through and try like just kind of make their decisions before they come to us, if that makes sense. So I think it allows for a smooth transition of new requirements and you know, the stakeholder aspect as well. Someone's actually controlling and looking after this instead of the IT team, which I don't think should be the case.
I see. Okay, that is definitely a different perspective from the previous talks I had. So this is quite interesting. So it's almost like no, it's amazing. So it's kind of like you empower people to drive the proof of concept of what they want, and then when it reaches a mature enough idea, okay, let's ask someone else to properly build something like this, right?
Basically.
Oh, okay. That's not bad, actually.
No, not at all. I think it's really helpful, because then there's like an agreement across the business, if that makes sense. I feel like when a team or an individual comes straight to the IT team, was like, you're missing something, this field needs to be added, or something, you know, some kind of workflow needs to be implemented. We might speak to them a few more times. We might ask top management or something, but then there'll be a lot of other people within the business that have missed out on this process, who aren't aware of what's going on, who might not know about the changes or the improvements, even if they like it. So if they did like it, they could even add more to that. Do you understand? If there was like a general business ownership and an identified stakeholder that people are aware of, and they can discuss things amongst themselves, and then their teams can discuss it as well, I think it just allows for greater things to happen, if that makes sense. And probably even less tweaking and fiddling with the systems, because we just haven't built something that you asked for, you think helps. There's actually been proper analysis, and we've made sure that it suits the majority of the business. And if it doesn't, there's an opportunity for other members to, you know, provide their feedback, get their input listened to as well, and then just build things that are more applicable to everybody and kind of make everybody happy. So yeah.
Definitely. That's good to know. It's like the whole idea has already gone through a few processed refinement cycles, and that
basically, that sounds good actually.
Okay, Amanda. And that is all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you very much, Amanda, for taking time off from your schedule and joining us in our podcast.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much as well, Mario.
We'd also like to send a big thank you to everyone who is listening, and hope you can join us on our next episode of High Tech Low Code Podcast, where, as always, we'll feature more guests and talk about more topics of importance to the tech world. See you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye now.